Today, I'm gonna be cooking up a crazy unique beat with my boy Vitals, who's worked with legendary artists like Kanye West, Ty Dolla $ign, Chris Brown, A Boogie, Pink Panthers, and even huge pop stars like Zayn from One Direction. So you can trust this guy knows what he's talking about. In this video, we're gonna go over a ton of gems for making better music, and he's definitely got a different outlook and point of view on producing as a whole, and I think you're gonna learn a lot from this video. What kind of vibe are you thinking to make today?
Definitely something a little more experimental or different.
I was thinking like something like almost like a dancey beat that like Kanye would get on.
What if we do something that is kind of in that lane, but even goes a little more left?
Yeah, but I don't know if you've been put onto this, but Sky Keys is crazy. So I'm gonna try to put some shit down with this. Played that wrong, but we'll fix that real quick.
Those pitch bends are sick.
If you want to get interesting sounding stuff, if you modulate the pitch of your chords, it is sauce. So obviously that was way too much. So I'm gonna go in and kind of like mess with this a little bit more. Alright, so I'm mess with this sound a little bit. Make it sound more interesting. I can hear like a vocal riff. I don't know, some shit.
If I was with an artist, I would literally just have them write to this.
Really?
Yeah. In like a session, I would just have the mic running 24/7 while I'm doing this. If I'm in a room, I would play just this and they would immediately feel something, and then the drums come after.
Oh, actually, you know what's even better than this plugin? I forgot about it. This like vintage keys one, the texture, I have like my favorite presets right here. This one. This is sauce I didn't even know I had like on my computer. Yeah, you can get some crazy.
A little trick is if any of you guys are producing vocals out there, it's a cool little texture to put on a parallel on your ad-libs.
I want something like subtle.
You hear a lot of this stuff on like the Frank Ocean stuff too.
Ooh.
That's nice.
All right, I'm gonna export these stems and send them over to Vitals, see what he can do.
For sure.
You worked on Beg Forgiveness on Kanye and Ty Dolla $ign's Vultures album. How has that kind of affected your career, and what was it like whenever you first found out that you were on that album?
Funny enough, it's definitely affected my career, but it hasn't affected my life. My career has definitely seen the fruits and the rewards that come with getting a Kanye cut, but I think it's a lot different than people would expect. I think a lot of people were expecting like, oh my god, all these opportunities are gonna fly by you, but I've come to realize that that was not the case.
Whenever you first heard that song or found out that you had that song, how did that feel?
It didn't feel real because just the way the whole album kind of came about, it dropped on a random like Wednesday, right? I was in like the shower, and then like my manager calls me. He's like, bro, it's out. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like getting out the shower, and I like check the phone in the shower. I'm like, oh my god, that's all my sounds. Let's go. Honestly, more of the intense emotions happened while I was working on it.
Like, how did it come about, and how did you actually work on that?
So London on the Track and I, we work really closely together, especially around that time period. Him and I were always running around doing so many sessions. At one point, we were honestly working on production throughout the whole album. And I don't know how much I'm allowed to say I worked on. It was a lot, but the ones that ended up getting finalized that came out was Beg Forgiveness.
So what's your process whenever you like bring up a starter or a loop? Like, what are you kind of looking for?
I'm always looking for how can I get this idea and make it make sense in context. What's a way I could separate the intro and have completely different information than the actual idea so the idea can hit harder. A listener is only listening to the song for the first time and they only have one chance of hearing something for the first time. I always think of like Frank Ocean is a good example because all his songs are like mini sicko modes. Even though they're ballads, they all have complete different sections, but it adds your replay value. Like there's so many different things happening that's gonna keep someone inspired. And then I might try and do 2 different sections. Okay, all right, let's get into some fun stuff. I've been using the XO a lot. It's basically, you can just put a file directory. This interface is just going through all your samples. It's like red is like kicks, right? And then this is like toms. And this is like cymbals. This is like perks, hats. But I like it for drums because I end up thinking of things that I would never use at all.
Bro, that is sauce. I've got to check that out. Woo! That shit sounded fire.
All right, now I hear the whole song. It's so funny. I think a lot of people are always like, that's like doing way too much. Like, it's got to be simple. But an artist will get in with you, not because you did the #1 song, but because you maybe did the really underground project that inspired some of the songs on their last album or their next album. I think the Pink Panthers placement I have has actually helped me a lot in my career, more than the Kanye one. Like, when we made that in the studio, it started off as like Doja Cat-esque sounding trap beat, R&B, pop beat. I came in with ideas that were like the garage, like drum and bass stuff, but she was like, yeah, but like I have a bunch of this, like what's like something new we can try, and that's how we got that song.
Woo! Crazy. Real quick, before we get back into really flipping this idea and transforming it into something crazy, I wanted to tell you about my brand new community, Sonics Academy. We just launched it, and inside, you're gonna get a ton of exclusive stuff that's super valuable. If you've ever wanted a one-on-one consultation with me, feedback on your music from me, or just more in-depth stuff that I can't really go in-depth on YouTube, not because I'm gatekeeping, but just because I don't want to post 5-hour-long videos, this is exactly what you're gonna want. Every week, you're gonna get 2 weekly group calls with me, unlimited feedback on your beats, access to all 23 plus hours of the courses that I filmed and growing every single week, an exclusive private area in my Discord server where you can talk to me directly. So if that sounds interesting at all, you can click the first link in the description down below to check out the Sonics Academy. But anyways, let's get back into this beat because it comes out crazy.
Just started using Arcade again too. Let's try some synthy stuff. Oh my God. Now this feels a little too much like a part. That's something I've had to really get better at. I feel like a lot of reasons why certain loops don't get placed, no matter how dressed up they are, is they're too much of a part. Unless you're making a loop where it's literally like Portland.
Yeah.
Where that's like the gimmick of the whole song. A lot of loops just do too much to where there's no room for a vocalist. I've learned this a lot from like live players. When you are coming up with parts in ear candy, you always want to make something that feels invisible. So you can feel that it's more busy, but you can't actually sing back the part that was just played. I don't want to kill the mono signal, so I'm gonna put a low cut, and I'm just gonna put it on just the mono, so the mids. So I'm gonna tuck and make a dynamic on all the mids, so I only get stereo information. Let's see where we're at. Okay, now we dial it back a little bit and make it a little more normal.
So you've done a bunch of big records with London on the track. How did you guys actually get connected and start working?
Another collaborator of his, Cam, I used to stay on his couch when I was in high school, when I would go back and forth from San Francisco to LA. And when I first moved to LA, he was like, yeah, you should go pull up on him. And he introduced us. It was after that day I pulled up to him at the studio. And then we were just together for like every day for like 2-3 months. Okay, now the bass line is gonna make this make sense even more. I always use this bass patch. It's like ancient as hell. Like all the old plug beats of the world in like the SoundCloud era would use this.
It's different.
Yeah, I wanted like it's like how do we stay familiar but different?
Ooh, I kind of like that one better.
Yeah, that's way cooler.
Ooh, that's fire.
Fire. Let's see what we sound like in context. Okay, I actually like this a lot.
What are some super low key or like underrated VSTs or plugins you've been using recently?
Probably Selena. I guess that's not really slept on. Is there anything crazy?
It could be like VSTs or like effect plugins, anything.
Ooh, Binauralizer. It's basically an advanced panner plugin that simulates a 3D space. Like it's right in front of you. It's like behind you to the right. I found this because there's the mixer who mixed this Casey Musgrave song used it on like all the stems. I've been doing this thing lately where the beat will just have two complete different sections. So like the verses will just be completely different from the chorus. So I might even ditch this whole bossa nova thing right here. Ooh, that's crazy. That's crazy.
So what would you say is more important, sound design or music theory?
Wow, that's tough. I would still go music theory because not that iconic parts are made through music theory. I think the understanding of the core idea being strong is a lot more useful than sound design.
Yeah, like you can make a hit with a guitar and a singer and nothing else.
You can't dress up a shitty idea in gold. That's all it is. I can make that synth even brighter.
A lot of people are getting records and placements and just working by just like emailing and sending stuff. But you're like kind of, at least to my knowledge, like the complete opposite. Like you're like in sessions working with people in person. How do you think that that has like affected the way that you make music?
I think when you're producing and you're like from a distance and you're not really in the scene, it allows a lot of mythology to brew and how you think the industry works. A lot of the producer community, some of the people will find success through the loop making game and then they'll always talk as if that's the definitive way to do it, and that is not the case. I think being in the music industry, in the scene, and how sessions work really makes you realize how much you don't know and how much there is not one way to do things. When you get to see what happens when the camera is off, that's all the most valuable stuff, and I wanted to put myself in an environment where I could see when the camera was off.
That's hard.
Like, I know people hate hearing advice like this, but the serious answer is just be unique. It will be appreciated eventually. Like, there's no shortcuts to creativity. Use black box. Oh, this is a slept on plugin for sure. The mixing world loves this one, but it's just this harmonic saturator that is so good at making everything feel full. Let me show you the difference between like non-harmonic saturation and actual saturation. So like this is normal saturate, like normal distortion, which is basically saturating all odd and even harmonics. And this one is only even harmonics. See how I'm turning it up all the way, but it's making it fuller, not distorted. The best mixes that sound so full in songs that'll only be like 6 sounds, but when you have a lot of good warm saturation with only those 6 sounds, it sounds so full. I do that on the master with Black Box, which has a really good algorithm for it.
If you had one tip or one piece of advice for upcoming producers to make their music better as fast as possible, what would you say?
Always try and focus what's the point of your idea, or what's the gimmick, or what is special about it. I think it's actually more similar to the person who has a lot of money and buys all the designer versus someone who has not much money but can thrift and has style. That's what it comes down to.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
By the way, if you want to watch the full uncut cook-up where you see the whole process from A to Z of this video and also get some gems that I didn't put on YouTube, they're all going to be inside the Sonics Academy in the uncut interview section. So make sure to check that out. Have a good one.